Hey guys, you know what time it is. It's time for another 6 obscure, well, sort of obscure, toy lines from the 60s all the way up to today. So let's start this off with Gak by Nickelodeon and Mattel from 1993. This was Mattel's most popular compound. The idea was taken from the Nickelodeon show Double Dare. The original edition was manufactured in 1992 and then it was reissued in 1994 for Nickelodeon Deluxe gift sets, which included 1 canister of Nickelodeon Gak and 2 canisters of Nickelodeon Floam. If you're unfamiliar with this compound, think Silly Putty meets slime. Now Gak was also famous for its star-shaped plastic holders and also making the quote-unquote fart noise when you'd stick your fingers in it trying to push it back into the jar. Over the Top by Canon Films and Luco, 1986. So we have back-to-back episodes of Sylvester Stallone movie-themed toys. So this is based off the 1986 Over the Top movie. Now, without Googling it, all I can remember from my childhood was he was a truck driver, he had to save his son, and there was an arm wrestling tournament that was taking place during it as well. The toy line came with 6 different figures, all characters from the movie, and an arm wrestling table where you could pit them against each other. By squeezing their legs, they could arm wrestle each other. This toy line was also pretty ambitious as they had an arm wrestling table made specifically for children. Robot Commando by Ideal, 1959. Standing at a commanding 19 inches tall, Robot Commando remains one of Ideal Toy Company's most memorable toys. It was marketed as the only robot that responds to commands and a one-man army. He was made of high-impact multicolored plastic and ran on 3 D-sized batteries installed in his base. The child commanders interacted with Robot Commando using a handheld microphone controller that was attached to the back of the toy. The controller provided access to the robot's full arsenal of features, including rolling forward, turning left and right, hurling red missiles from each of his hands, and firing an atomic rocket from a spring-loaded launcher in his head. And as an added bonus, his eyes would spin around in his eye sockets when he rolled around. ROM, the Space Knight, Parker Brothers, 1979. ROM was one of the first products by Parker Brothers that wasn't a board game. This action figure was approximately 13 inches tall, with articulated shoulders, hips, and knees, which made him a little less posable than other action figures of the time, but what ROM lacked in flexibility, he more than made up for in built-in electronics. Along with ROM's light-up eyes and chest piece, he also came with audio effects. Pressing the 2 buttons on his back in different combinations produced a variety of sounds. Starbird by Milton Bradley, 1980. Starbird was an electronic spaceship toy line produced by Milton Bradley in the early 80s. The ship had flashing lasers and made engine sounds. There was a ball bearing inside of it that would change the sound of the motor to accelerating or decelerating depending on how you had the nose pointed. The main ship was made up of sections that could be detached to create separate spaceships. For example, the end of each wing had a detachable ship called an interceptor, and the rotating laser turret could be detached to become a double escape pod. Also available in the line were the Space Avenger, the Intruder, and the Command Base. A Bad Case of Worms were definitely an oddity from the early 80s. They were marketed as a fun toy to scare mom and your sister with. You would get 2 colored sticky worms per case, which came in a variety of colors, the worms and the case. They were made of a pliable rubber that you could bend at segments to make them look as if they were really wiggling, along with being coated with a sticky substance that allowed them to stick to clothes, hair, and walls for a short time. The toy line surprisingly had some longevity. It sold for a few years. Basically, it was always just color changes. They wound up doing fluorescent as well as glow-in-the-dark variations. Defenders of the Earth, Galoob, 1985.
The evil Emperor Ming, the ruler of planet Mongo, plans to enslave the people of Earth. He's created an army of ice robots to storm the planet. They're led by Drax, the most diabolical robot in the universe. Only Flash Gordon and the Defenders of the Earth stand in his way. So this was a 6 basic figure line, which included the 4 heroes and 2 villains. Where this series really shined though was the vehicles, 6 different, all with special gimmicks. Trigger activated claws, ships that doubled as swords, and a giant wiggling dragon. Definitely a toy series that I have to hunt down now. And that's gonna do it for another episode, and we hit you at 7, you got a bonus one, 7 obscure, well, sort of obscure toy lines from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and some that are even getting close to today. So again guys, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and of course subscribing, and if you have any suggestions of an obscure toy line, let me hear about it down in the comments. Take care guys.